So basically I had asked all of you to get 3 fabrics. Okay, so I picked up like this, 3 prints, 2 prints and 1 solid. Okay, so this is what my 3 fabrics are. So what exactly we are going to do, I just actually did it on a paper so that next time you'll have idea that how patchwork actually really works. Old school, we had this patchwork as this. Patchwork is generally hiding your hole and all that thing. But this was a trend many years back. But now they have prints. Instead of showing different prints, now they have prints only like that, showing 3 different kind of effects. So what basically today is going to happen, I cut it actually into 4 parts because that's what we are going to do. So this is suppose my first print. This is my second, the solid or whatever you are using. And this is my third print. Okay, so if you see, we are going to sew them like this. So first it will be sewing all one fabric to the second one. These are strips, okay? The one that we cut 30 inches strips by 2.5 inches. We'll be sewing them like this, okay? And after that, what happens? We cut them into blocks. So the blocks will be 6.5, 6.5, okay? This is a smaller block, but you'll be cutting them into 4 blocks, the same strip, okay? And then what basically you do, we'll be holding it like that. I'm just giving you a rough idea. So even if you're confused, don't worry. We are going to actually do it on the fabric. So what basically happens, how you're going to do it, you place your first one like that. Okay. And then you turn. So you have all of them the same direction. Okay. So then you just pick them up after cutting. Then the second one, you'll be moving it like this. Okay. So you'll be grabbing and sewing it with this. And then the third one will be turning. So you keep on turning it clockwise so that you don't get confused, which is my second, which is third, which will be turning right and then one more time right. So the best thing is you pile them together and then keep on rotating them one time, like 90-degree angle, okay? And then I'm coming over here, third block, and my fourth block, I'm going to go like this, okay? And then you'll be sewing it all together and it'll create a design, okay? So this is what exactly we are going to do. And if whatever you people have the thread, anything closer to it, just put that red, in that color. So for me, red is more closer. Yeah, so whoever has finished cutting and everything is ready, this is the right side of my fabric, my first strip, okay? So I've decided to go like that, solid in between my 2 prints. So now what we have to do, we just have to sew these 3 strips together, that's it. So you have your 1 strip, and you people know so well till now, it's always face to face. So this is my side of the solid, and just like how I've always shared in the class, you don't have to worry in a solid whether what is your right side and the wrong side, but I have a fleecy fabric, so I really do have where the fluff is, that's actually my right side. So I am going to go like that. So this is my right side facing right. So I want all of you to pin up the width wise, okay? That's the whole length, actually, the 30 inches, your length. So whatever you call it, widthwise or lengthwise, but it's a long section, your 30 inches one. So let's pin them up together. And what basically we'll be sewing is just a 1/4 inch. In this, it's always a 1/4 inch sewing. You don't have to go 1/2 inch because you're not wearing these kind of things. And especially when you're ironing it, a 1/4 inch really works nice. Now I have a fleecy fabric that tends to stick with other fabric, so I have to be careful. But just like how I said, start pinning up. So go face to face for 2 fabrics. So now what we are going to do, let's first sew these 2 and then we'll do the third strip, okay? And just go a 1/4 inch, again, go a back stitch and continue doing 1/4 stitch till the end, and again a back stitch, okay? So I have it like this, okay? And this is my right side facing right. And then, okay, right side facing right, okay, Claudette, like this, and then you'll be sewing, okay? So do your back stitch and check your stitch length. I think so everything is already set when we did the pouch. Check back your stitches also in the front and the top and the bottom, just to be sure you're getting the good stitch. So basically when we see quilted stuff, we feel, oh, it's so confusing. Some of so made it in such a way and you just wonder how did they assemble a triangle, a square, a strip. It is all just first sewing, simple sewing, and then cutting into your blocks. Next time we'll be going squares, okay? Like this is cutting strips and next we'll be going squares. So I'm reaching the end of my sewing. So I'm going to do back stitch. So once you are done, cut it out. The ironing part, we'll do it later on after we assemble all three strips together. So I have my top, the print, I have the solid. Now I'm going to put a printed fabric over here. Okay, so now my sewing has to be again right side facing right. So I'm going to pin up. So just put 2 pins and still check that did you put it the right way. Okay, so now I'm opening up to check, so I'm good. So I have my right side, right side, right side. And now finish pinning up till that other end. In this kind of work, your cutting really has to be precise because when you'll be cutting those squares, everything is all measurement for your quilting. You can't go more than a 1/4 inch wrong in this. Now I've finished pinning the whole thing. So actual product will be coming like this. So now let's go back again to the machine. And then once we'll be finished sewing machine, do the back stitch on both the ends. And then we have to move and iron these things. Okay. So if in case you want to keep your iron ready, you can do that. So you have to actually, you can first go on the top side, okay, the right side, and just flatten it like this, okay? So you spread it nicely, okay? So you just iron it, and then we are going to go on the wrong side and flatten our seams. So just iron it on top. Whenever you're ironing, just pull the sides, okay? So that it really flattens nicely on the right side. Because if you don't pull, then it tends to a little bit get folded inside. Ironing is very important for quilting. You really have to flatten the seam so that there's no bulk anywhere. So I finished ironing now my right side, and now I'm going to go on the wrong side. Going on the wrong side is actually you have these seams. So we have to flatten these seams. Okay, so you go and you flatten. If you remember when we were doing our seams, I said when you need to iron them and flatten them like that. So that's what is needed. Because if we don't flatten it, then what happens when we are going to sew with another square, this tends to become very bulky. We don't want that. We really want it to come smoothly on all the sides. So just flatten and iron them. Same thing over here too. On the other side also, keep on ironing it throughout, okay? Flatten your seam and then iron it throughout. And tackle two fabrics like the seam at one time. Don't do both of them together. It won't come out good. Just tackle one at same time, okay? This is called actually an open seam. When you flat iron it like that, it's called open seam. And if you don't iron, it's called a closed seam. So I finished ironing and now I'm going to go on the other end. Once you have done that, now we can go and cut our squares. Okay, so have your ruler and pencil, pen, tailor chalk, whatever you have. And please take the cord out from your iron. We'll need it later on, not now. Can all of you please check how much the square length you'll be able to get? Can you check, please? I'm getting right now 6 1/4, 6 1/4. Just measure it random spots, okay? 6 1/4. Like I'm talking about this area, okay? This area. So whatever you have, the max, we are going to cut the square of that size. So basically it's this length I'm talking about, okay? So this from here to here, measure whatever length you are having, check all, is your distance maintained throughout? 6 1/4 or 6, whatever, because that's the square all of us will be cutting. So if you have 6 1/4, then the square has to be 6 1/4 or 6, okay? But if you're going smaller or anything, the square has to be equal, okay? So please, all of you, whoever you might be having a ruler or measuring tape, just measure this width, because it all depends upon your this sewing. If you have gone too much or too less, then it doesn't matter, but the square has to be standardized for all 4 pieces that you'll be cutting. So I'm basically having 6 1/4 inch for me. So I'm going to now draw 6 1/4 inch, go again 6 1/4 inch, mark it over here and mark it at another spot. For 4 squares, you are having 6 inch, 6 1/4 or 6 1/2. Whatever you have, your this distance has to be the same. Whatever is your width, it's just like going like this, okay? It should be a proper square, but I don't want you to cut it like that. It doesn't work good on a fabric. And a piece of paper it works, but not over here. So first be sure that you have a straight line over here. Just make your straight line so that at least your starting has to be straight. So in case you have, when you are sewing, you might have accidentally, you know, gone a little bit extra in your fabric. So first straighten your line over here. So with the tailor chalk, cut this off, okay? See how it's going crooked for me a little bit, not much, 1/8 of an inch. So when I've straightened this, now I'm going to check my width. It's 6 inch and a quarter. I'm going to go the same distance over here, 6 inch and a quarter. And I'm going to draw over here. Okay, so I measured from here, 0 to 6 and a quarter over here. And now I'm going to go on the other end also, 6 inch and a quarter, because whenever you're doing a straight line, you have to be sure it's really straight. So it's a good idea to do measure from here and then from here, again, 6 inch and a quarter. Please follow your own measurement, 6.5, 6 inches, whatever you have. Don't listen that I'm saying 6 and a quarter. It has to be 6 and a quarter for you people also. It's totally on your sewing. So now I have my two spots over here, one over here and one down here. And I'm going to draw my straight line and I'm going to cut it also. You can cut in the beginning or you can measure all of them and then cut them together. But I like cutting it before, because generally what happens, sometimes you cut it a little bit uneven. So at least you'll be sure that the second one will be exactly 6 inch and a quarter. So now I'm going to cut that one. And as you are cutting them, just put them on the side and pile them like that, same direction, okay? So that is very important, piling them all in the same way you had placed and cut it. And now I'm going for my second square. Again, 6 inch and a quarter. Draw my straight line and cut. Okay, so see how I'm putting it, the same print matching like that on top of it. I still have 2 more squares to cut. So I do have a scrap left in the end. Okay, so you can leave it on the side. So now I have 4 of them. Okay, all placed on top of each other, the print and all. Measure it with your ruler. Whenever you're overlapping your fabrics, it does not work the right size. Okay. Always, whenever you're cutting these squares, either you have a template on a piece of paper, that's another story, or a hard paper, okay? But when you are putting the fabric on top of this fabric for this one, it doesn't work good, okay? You won't get the exact square. I know, because whenever you're marking the fabric, it's not falling flat, the lines are not matching, it might go crooked, that won't work, okay? So this is your first square. Okay, so you have all your prints in the same. Always keep your pile together like this. So you have your top print, the first fabric, all facing upwards. Okay, like that. So you have your first square. So just grab your first, the top square, and put it like that. Okay, put it on the floor or wherever your tabletop. And then you have the same pile, just rotate it clockwise. Okay, so we are going to rotate it 90-degree clockwise. Okay, so this is my print and going 90 degrees like this. And then you keep your one like this. Okay, so this one I've already put. So you see how the print directions has changed. It's me just rotating the fabric. So this is what you have to be careful. So now again, see, this is, so I'm rotating the entire pile. I'm not rotating single piece. When I'm picking up, I'm just rotating the whole pile 90-degree. Okay. So now this is my right one right over here. Now again, I'm going to rotate it 90-degree. 90-degree is like your this rotation. This is your square and then you go like this. Okay. And then now going 90-degree is rotating like this. And then you grab your third one and you place it. So you keep on placing it like this. So now I have the same direction. So see, this is my same direction like that. Now I'm again going to go 90-degree. And this is now my final patchwork or quilting. So see how my print has moved, where it has gone, where it was straight strips, and now where it has gone. Seeing this, it looks so confusing. How do you get this? But it's just rotating your strips, okay, after sewing. And now what I want you to do, when all of you have got it like this, then please just match two of your lines like this. Okay, so you can go like this, go face to face and pin it up. Just put one or two pins so that you don't lose it. Okay, like you don't want to grab all the pieces and get mixed up. Okay, so what I did, I just went like this. I went face to face, and the same thing I'm going to do for bottom. Do face to face. Don't take it away from your table. Leave it flat. We still have to pin up more. Okay, just go face to face again and pin up these two pieces. So basically I have my two pieces pinned up like this. Okay, these two pieces, and I have these two pieces pinned up. And my next step is, and now the last one, what we need to do is now go face to face like this and pin up. So now this line will be going like this. Okay, and just pin it up. So this is, we don't want to get messed up like by just pinning up two and start sewing. No, it doesn't work. First just do your pinning up, and then we're going to take them out one by one and do our sewing. Okay, so at least you're sure that your pieces are all assembled together nicely. And now see, I just pinned up at 2 pins only. You don't need much, just 2 pins, one over here, one for this square. And now you open up to see, is it that way you have pinned up all your 4 pieces? So now now we are going to start sewing. So whatever you can just grab, any 2 squares, and now you can start unpinning. Suppose I want to just sew these 2 squares. Okay, these 2 squares. So what I can do, I can go on my machine and take my pin out. Okay, but don't take the pins out only when you reach the machine. Just sew first 2 squares. So we are not going to sew all the squares together. Just start sewing 2 squares wherever you have your pinning. Do randomly, but don't take out your pins in between. Then you'll lose the rotation. Okay, so just have it, grab it with along with all your pins hanging over there, and start sewing. So you can grab, there's nothing square 1, square 2, no. You can start sewing wherever you have your pins, and later on when you'll open up, it'll be all assembled. So go on your machine, then only take your pins out. Okay, don't, otherwise it's all confusing. And again, it's a 1/4 inch sewing, back stitch. Don't forget your back stitch over here. We really need the back stitch, because when you iron or you're joining with the next piece, then the seam or it starts opening up. So just do back stitch. And whenever you're doing your back stitch, just remember, wherever you had flattened, remember we had ironed it and made it into flat seam over here, the open seam. Hold it like that and then sew it so that there's no bulkiness anywhere. So what you people can do also sometime, you know what, olden time we used to always start sewing from somewhere else. You just grab it and you start sewing. So you don't even have to cut the thread. You can start sewing another square. So see, I just grabbed it and I'm just sewing 1 square. But your pins really have to be put nicely. If you don't want to follow this up, you can cut off your thread, start fresh again. I'm going to just continue, and I'll be snipping it later on. But always just remember, whenever you're sewing, try keeping your open seam on the top so you can see it. If it gets in the bottom, then it automatically will become a closed seam. Okay, so see, this is my solid side over here. There's no seam, and I'm sewing, keeping this as a bottom, but wherever my seams, I'm keeping it on top so that I can see them. They are really flat, open seam. Okay. Now, when I finish sewing, what I can do, I can cut off the one that I linked up. Okay, that 1 square. Now I can cut it off from there. Take your pins out. 1. Claudette, if you, yeah, keep on cutting off. Whoever is getting, see now for me also, for the 3rd square, it's not working out because now I need to link up my 2 squares. So I'm cutting off my thread, and now I'm going to open up and see which is my next one. Where do I stitch now? Where are my pins? Okay, so I have to go like that. So now what has happened, I have finished joining 2 pieces together, 2 squares together. Now I have the long sewing going now. So basically now the lengthwise sewing is going to happen. Okay, so when this is going to happen, I really need to match my seams. Okay, so let me show you that. Finish first sewing your 2 squares. Okay, like basically 2 squares are all sewn with each other. Like I have these 2 sewn together, and over here I have these 2 sewn together, but now I have to go straight. Okay, how do I go straight? we're going to open up and I'm going to show you how you need to really match it. So you have this seam and this seam, okay? So flatten it, and then, because this is the one that you have not flattened it, okay? So what I want you people to do, whatever the stitch that you did, new one, you can go and iron both of them, okay? So see, this is not ironed, so let's iron this one also, so that we really get it flat now, okay? And this one also. So let's do that ironing. I forgot that part, that we need to iron that. Whenever you're readjusting, just grab one pin, okay? Don't take out both the pins. Just adjust them one by one. And that's it. So now you're sewing, just check that all your seams are flat, okay? Because over here now, what is happening? Over here, you have just a plain fabric and the seams are over here. And when you come to this side, the seams are on top. So as you are sewing, just check that the seams are flattened, okay? If it comes in the bottom, yeah. And that's it, okay? So you are done with your quilting section. So now what we need to do, you have finished pinning up. Now you can start sewing. Go with the back stitch over here, okay? And keep on checking your seams are flat, because now for over here, some flat seams are coming in the bottom and some are coming on the top. So just keep on flattening them and you're done, okay? So back stitch. Started with the back stitch. Keep on checking your flat seams are now open seams are bottom for the half of the length, okay? So check it and then keep on sewing. And so now we have a seam matching with the seam, okay, over here, the seam matching seam. So you really have to match it good, because when you'll be opening up, all these lines have to really match nicely. It'll look pretty. That's why your sewing has to be precise. Otherwise, these squares are not going to work out. Because the final product will be a square, and that now when you have to join it with another square made it exactly like this, all the lines need to match for the design to really show up good. And you can have it on the tabletop, like, and if in case you have fabric, you can join it and make it into a bigger tablecloth for your dining table or for your center table. So it can be anything. It's just to get a rough idea, because see, one square is done. Now you're going to make another square like that and then join it. Okay. So when you join, that's where it looks, oh my God, it looks so confusing. But it's just this. See, you just sewed it from a strip of yes. 3 strips. So it now giving a fancy. And can you believe it, when you'll be connecting it, this L-shaped thing will be repeated at a certain level again, the L shape, you know. This L shape will be repeated in your other side of the square. So it looked very pretty when it really done spread out, right?